I had always been fascinated by old, abandoned places, and the idea of spending a vacation in an ancient castle seemed like the perfect escape from the mundane. So, when I found the listing for a centuries-old castle in a remote part of the country, I convinced my partner that it would be the perfect adventure. The photos showed grand halls, sweeping staircases, and intricate tapestries that hinted at a rich history. I could almost feel the stories that the walls could tell. We arrived at the castle just as the sun was setting, casting long shadows over the stone walls. A castle loomed before us, an imposing structure that seemed to whisper secrets in the wind. As we approached the massive wooden doors, I felt a chill run down my spine. I told myself it was just the excitement of exploring such a place, but deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Once inside, we were greeted by the caretaker, an elderly man with a weathered face and piercing eyes. He handed us the keys and gave us a brief tour, pointing out the main areas we could explore. "Be careful where you wander," he warned cryptically, before leaving us to our own devices. I laughed off his warning, eager to start our adventure. The first few days were magical. We explored every nook and cranny of the castle, marveling at the ancient architecture and the sense of history that permeated every room. But as the days went on, strange things began to happen. At first, it was just little things, a door that would swing open on its own, the sound of footsteps echoing in empty hallways. I brushed it off as the quirks of an old building, but my partner was less convinced. One night, as we sat by the fireplace, the temperature in the room suddenly dropped. The flames flickered and dimmed, casting eerie shadows on the walls. I glanced over at my partner, who was staring at something behind me, eyes wide with fear. I turned slowly, my heart pounding, and saw a faint figure standing in the doorway. It was a woman, dressed in a long, tattered gown, her eyes hollow and filled with sorrow. Before I could react, she vanished, leaving behind a cold, empty silence. I tried to rationalize what we had seen, but there was no denying the growing sense of dread that hung over the castle. The next night, we heard whispers in the dark, soft murmurs that seemed to come from the walls themselves. I couldn't understand the words, but the tone was unmistakably malicious. We decided to stick together, not wanting to be alone in the creeping darkness. One evening, as we were exploring one of the castle's many towers, we stumbled upon a hidden room. It was small and dusty, filled with old furniture and forgotten relics. In the center of the room was a portrait of a woman, the same woman I had seen in the doorway. Her eyes seemed to follow us, her expression one of despair and anger. As I reached out to touch the painting, a sudden force threw me back, slamming me into the wall. I could hear my partner's screams as the room filled with an icy wind. Desperate to escape, we fled the tower and locked ourselves in our bedroom. But the castle wasn't done with us. That night, we were plagued by nightmares, visions of the woman and other tormented spirits trapped within the castle walls. I could feel their pain, their anger, and their desperation to be free. The next morning, we decided we had to leave, but as we packed our bags, the doors of the castle slammed shut, trapping us inside. The spirits were not going to let us go so easily. In our frantic search for a way out, we discovered an old journal hidden in the library. It belonged to the castle's original owner, who had dabbled in dark magic and made a pact with malevolent forces. The spirits we had encountered were the result of his experiments, trapped in the castle for eternity. As I read the final entry, I realized there was only one way to break the curse. We had to confront the spirits and release them from their torment. That night, we gathered in the main hall, summoning the spirits with the incantations from the journal. The air grew thick with a palpable sense of anger and sorrow. One by one, the spirits appeared, their faces twisted in pain. I spoke to them, pleading for their forgiveness and promising to set them free. The temperature dropped further as the spirits surrounded us, their whispers growing louder. Just when I thought we wouldn't make it, a blinding light filled the room. The spirits screamed and then, one by one, began to fade away. The castle groaned as if it were alive, and the oppressive weight that had hung over us lifted. The doors creaked open, and for the first time in days, I felt a glimmer of hope. We left the castle the next morning, the sun shining brightly as if to welcome us back to the world of the living. As we drove away, I glanced back at the castle, now just a shadow on the horizon. I couldn't shake the feeling that a part of it would always stay with us, a reminder of the spirits we had freed and the dark history we had uncovered. The drive back felt surreal, like waking up from a long, oppressive dream. The weight of the past few days lingered, but there was a newfound sense of relief. We had faced something unimaginable and survived. The thought of what we had experienced in that castle haunted me, yet there was a strange sense of closure. Weeks passed, and life began to return to normal. My partner and I found comfort in the mundane routines we had once taken for granted, but the memory of the castle never truly faded. Late at night, when the house was silent and the world seemed still, I could almost hear the whispers of the spirits we had encountered. One evening, as we were unpacking some old boxes from the attic, I stumbled upon a small, worn-out book. It was the journal we had found in the castle, the one that had guided us through our ordeal. I had thought we left it behind, but here it was, a tangible reminder of our experience. As I flipped through the pages, I felt a chill run down my spine. There were new entries, written in a hand that was not mine. The entries spoke of gratitude and peace. The spirits we had freed had found their rest. But there was also a warning. The castle, with its dark history and malevolent forces, was not the only place where such evil resided. The world was full of places and objects that harbored darkness, waiting for unsuspecting souls to stumble upon them. I closed the journal and looked at my partner, who had also seen the new entries. We shared a silent understanding. Our encounter with the supernatural had changed us, opened our eyes to the hidden dangers that lurked in the shadows, but it had also made us stronger, more aware of the world around us. We decided to keep the journal, not as a souvenir, but as a reminder of the lessons we had learned. It was a symbol of our resilience and our determination to face whatever challenges came our way. We had survived the haunted castle, and we would be ready for whatever else the world had in store. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the memory of the castle slowly began to fade, but every now and then, in the quiet moments, I would find myself thinking back to that old, imposing structure and the spirits we had freed. It was a part of our story now, a chapter in the book of our lives that would never be forgotten. And so, life went on. We faced new challenges, celebrated new joys, and continued to grow together. The haunted castle was a distant memory, but its lessons stayed with us, guiding us through the unknown. We had faced the darkness and come out the other side, stronger and more united than ever. And for that, I was grateful.